Good afternoon, good folks at home. Hope you're all safe and well here on the spookiest day of the year with me, BiggHungryPhill, and ManofClass to bring you all of today's action in the Corporate Esports Association Overwatch tournament. Classy, how's it going? Welcome to the broadcast. What's happening? Where am I?
Well, you look to be in Junkenstein's Revenge, so an icon vault somewhere, I guess.
It's an
It's
extra spooky version of the map as
yeah,
well.
you
I
made
think
it really, really scary. Like
I
honestly, if
think the
that comes to
scariest thing I
reality,
could
I
think
think
of.
I might. Yeah, no, I definitely would not be happy in my life, and I would have nightmares for years to come. But luckily, it's all still imagination. So we can reel it back in a little bit and just go to watch some Overwatch where that's not the case.
Yeah.
There
We've got a
are a
solid
lot of
6 months where this isn't the truth.
True. And I mean, we also have a lot of spoopy icons in the chat that we could focus on right now.
True.
Go Goats, one of the teams from Google, all have the Witchimari icon, which I personally love. It's a beautiful one. You know, that green-skinned Pachimari with the hat and everything, the tentacles, just cute. And on the other side, they're actually opting to all go for different spooky Maris. Like, they all have costume Pachimaris in some way, shape, or form. And they are just the cutest thing in Overwatch, honestly. So even if they're Halloween-themed, I'm not scared of that.
Yeah, how long before we get a Pachimari spin-off game? That's the real question we want to know the answers to today.
Yeah,
But you have, of course, mentioned one of our team names, Goats being one of them, the Rectifiers being the other. So let's maybe take a dive, starting with the Rectifiers, because whereas in previous weeks, Classy, I've come to you and said, "Oh boy, look at this 3-figure SR player that they've got on this team. Wow, 800 SR. What a plucky player to be here today." Now I've got to go the other way because Rectifiers have a 4.1k player in the form of Ass Napkin is the name he's going by on broadcast.
Yeah, that's definitely the one. And I mean, like you say, 4.1k player looks to be a very specialized hit scan player. So it's Widowmaker, Tracer, McCree is what they listed mostly. But I think Blizzard heard Go Goats and was like, you know what? Let's give a little bit of a push. Let's nerf Widowmaker so she has 25 less health. Let's buff everything else that's could potentially contest with her, and then maybe Go Goats has a chance against this. And that is really what this match is going to come down to. How well can Go Goats shut down Ass Napkin or sort of do more in the time that Ass Napkin cannot carry their team fast enough? It's at least the looks what it's going to be about. We're going to see obviously if that comes to fruition when we get into the maps, but I'm not expecting that narrative to really change.
No, really, Ass Napkin is going to be the player to look out for here. On the side of Go Goats, though, a little less of a widespread of SR. One of the lower SR spread teams that we've seen. It's a little over 1,000, I believe. That's Neil. He's going to be coming in at 3.15k, down to Theta Omega down at 2.2k. So, a relatively cohesive team here, like the sort of team that you could almost maybe come across in ladder. I think just a little bit outside of that, but close enough.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they basically almost meet those competitive restrictions in which you can still 6-stack without having to like kick someone out because their SR isn't high enough or too high. It's also an option. And I mean, Go Goats. I mean, both these teams have done pretty well so far. They're going 3-2 in Swiss. Then have both won their first game last week. So yeah, they're very even on paper. It's just that one SR discrepancy that we see on the side of the Rectifiers that would have to say, well, if they perform up to their standards, you would think that the Rectifiers are going to run away with it. But it's Overwatch. It's a team game. So even if you think you can 1v6, it's not going to happen all the time, and Ass Napkin has to definitely step up to the plate and not just get countered by Go Goats.
You touched on it very briefly. Obviously, we're playing on the live patch here today, and there have been some changes to HP, notably Widow losing 25 HP, McCree getting his straw out and sucking out some of that HP for himself to enjoy. And I think it's a very subtle change, but it has changed some damage breakpoints. So now you don't have to land like headshots to take a Widow out with 2 hits. With Ash, you can do that now with body shots. So she is a little bit more easily countered. But given what we've currently got being hovered over here, seems like you might be seeing the Tracer instead.
Oh yeah, 100%. And on Control, it's not at all uncommon to see this. No. Like Tracer is just more adaptable in these situations. She has to she can run around the map. Widowmaker only has that grapple cooldown that really enables her to do anything in terms of mobility. So it's totally understandable if neither team goes for that. Even though there is some high ground here, a lot of sideline blockage, a lot of potential for you to just not get as much value. And as Napkin going over to the Reaper instead, both teams going with the teleporter out of spawn. Let's see who gets it off better. So far, it does seem to be that they're on it.
Rektifiers to close the distance, and they are in full-on brawl mode here today, and it's going to be support down first. Smaned able to get 2 very quickly, and this is going to be Rektifiers with a quick dash to the point and a quick set of kills, securing them the opening cap.
That's how I just couldn't get the teleporter up as quick as there was on the other side. They're missing that Lucio for that speed boost out of spawn. I think you saw the attempt from Disney and Inai to go around the outside to actually, go for the off-angle shots. But that's not just quite how that composition works. So now they're going to go over to the Ashe and the Pharah combo. And this is still a very good composition to attack this point with, especially with that opening pick on Shalel.
That is a big opener. All of that bulk healing that you need for the brawl suddenly off the table, and Doug feeling pretty happy about getting in there and swinging the hammer, but just Doug over-trusts things a little bit. Disney brings out the barrage, fires it into the shield, breaks it down, and sends Bright Guy back to the spawn. Go-Goats with a couple of picks coming their way. Going to be down to Napkin to keep this going that little bit longer. We'll find a pick here. Smaned 2. Disney still in the fight, but heavily pressured. Luckily has got the pocket there with Therioptric to keep him alive. Not going to have that anymore as Polydroid comes back in and takes him out of the fight. Napkin closing in on the Death Blossom, works down the shield, finds the shots, and now it's going to be down to Just Doug to try and back out. Stun into stun, and Just Doug just down.
Yeah, so far it's been a great showing for the Rektifiers. Not at all a sweat has been broken from their brow, but now we get into this ult situation where both teams are going to have stuff to work with. And it's really up to that barrage to really get a lot of value. That minefield as well could open a lot up.
Yeah, there's a couple of pick potential ultimates coming through, that's for absolutely certain. We'll, of course, have sustain ults available, particularly Polydroids we've got to be looking out here. Going to pop that immediately. Gets it in, buys a bit of confidence there for Napkin to get in and find the 1k, find the 2k, the coalescence from Chalel, and some Disney even. We see the barrage out. Barrage able to find 1 before that's punished, and we see Disney knocked out of the fight. And now, Glassy, it's last fight territory.
Last fight territory, 93%. It's going to be tough for the even touch in the first place. Of course, Neil, plenty of mobility to be able to do so, but still needs to be careful not to be booped off on their approach. And they're so split right now, Phil.
It is 99-0, just the shatter left. It's going to be a big one from Doug. Will put 3 on the ground and secure the pick onto Polydroid. Neil is there to find 2 at the back end, and Napkin is holding on to this Death Blossom. Doesn't have the HP to make it work. There's no pressure, though. This is 99-0. A flip here is not that big an issue. Plenty of time left.
Yeah, it's good that they actually managed to cap that back, and they didn't even have to invest all their ultimates. Actually, no, they did. But Theta Omega still coming up to their bob, so they'll have at least 1 to work with. The other side will be both DPS ultimates, and that Death Blossom can just be map ending. If Napkin is, living up to their potential, that should be a clean fight win. Then again, Lot can block that as well. Good sleep right from Coronary could shut it down.
That's right, and of course, just the focus fire, it's a big hitbox on a Reaper. You can be focused down fairly quickly, and Anti will make sure that you don't get any healing out of the passive on that one. Looks like we got the early pick there from Go-Goats, and we're going to see Rektifiers just slow down and back out of it.
You can't fight without that Moira. It's so much healing that they're missing. Just the Lucio isn't enough, especially without that sound barrier. But now they're coming in. No picks just yet, but Disney has almost managed to build up to another barrage. And they've got some other ultimates coming online, but who's flanking? It's Napkin.
Tactical visor out from Dracokin, and Napkin's able to find 1, and it's a crucial pick there. One of the main supports taken out of the fight. Wraith walks through the charge, almost gets the Mercy, and just Doug went a little bit too far on that charge and landed in the drink. Napkin now going toe-to-toe with Disney, just playing bodyguard here, but looks like that was one name on the list at very least. Dracokin flowing down. We see the Conch Blast take Napkin out of the fight, and the flip may have come through here for Rektifiers, but they can't make good on the promise here, and we're looking to see the flip back.
Disney was so instrumental that entire fight, just kept on dodging Napkin so they couldn't get that final kill on them, and Napkin was distracted for that entire fight. Yes, they were able to sneak around, get that first pick onto Coronary, but now that they're not able to do that anymore, they switch over to McCree. They figure, you know what, we're going to go fight with my team straight up and just win on mechanics alone. That Omega immediately feels that shot in the head.
This is probably exactly where you want a player like Napkin, just able to out-mechanic the opponent, but he will have to find some time to get into position here. He's trying to directly challenge Disney, and onto the back, into his back even, comes Neil. We'll see that work down with the Helix rocket. Care of Draco Kane, able to find the double. Smattered with a bit of charge at his back, and the courtesy of the sound barrier keeping him alive. Able to work down few remaining targets. Here's the flip coming through. We're into overtime. It's now down to Theory Cryptic and Disney to tag in and keep this going, but Disney is down. Bought time for Neil to get in. Coronary 2, but the Graviton Surge is going to lock them all up, and it's just Stagger City here, ManofClass. It's not a win for GoGoats. It's delaying the inevitable.
Yeah, still 99 to 99. That does give us promise for the future maps, but it took especially GoGoats a while to get going. I think now that they figured out their playstyle against this player of Napkin, that they want to keep occupied while not throwing bodies at him, that might be a very prudent strategy throughout this entire map. The problem, though, is that on this particular one, we go to Control Center, running that pharmacy is not as easy as it is on the other 2 points. So if Disney and Theory Tropic are going to stick on this, they're going to have a much harder time navigating around and just debating Napkin into following them. And if this is coming to fruition, if we're going to see the Teleporter Bastion strat, I'm going to be very happy, Phil.
And of course, Rektifiers with the comp they're running here, they've got a massive advantage in getting set up. They've got the teleporter and the speed. This is not going to go well for GoGoats.
It shouldn't in theory, but there's always the opportunity for an upset, right?
Okay. Didn't see the TP come through. I guess that was the spawn. No, up onto the high ground there. Now Napkin's got a nice escape route and control of the high ground. It's a bouncing Bastion strategy here. Maned with the first pick, and it's going to be very, very difficult for GoGoats to actually aggress onto the point proper.
Yeah, that Baptiste, that Lucio, the speed boost, the AoE healing, it's all there. As Maned under a little bit of pressure now might go down, but that's going to be the only person in trouble on their side. Look at the health bars on GoGoats. They're just in so much trouble. They're going to just retreat, reset, and try again later. Now they know that they're running into a Bastion, though, maybe they'll change their approach.
I wonder if they're going to send somebody. In fact, if you look at the wireframes over there, you can see that Disney is just coming up on the high ground. At the very least, can take down the teleporter. And now Napkin is stuck a little bit down on the low ground. Expect him to make a rotation here so that he's in not such a vulnerable position. In fact, he's rotated up into White Room to put a little bit of additional pressure down as we see GoGoats start to close the distance on the spawn. Needs to be careful of the burst damage from Theta Omega, but he is able to find that. And Disney also, I didn't know Disney was there. Did Disney know that Napkin was there? We get the wall out here as well. It's a big charge through, takes Neo out of the fight, and Napkin is just currently untouchable on the Bastion.
Yeah, it's so hard, right? Because they're trying to find this angle where they can deny the Bastion the value of the setup that they need. But it's so hard when they're already set up and they have the Symmetra to work with. And then you have to worry about all these other players like Smanet, Brigguy. Like, it's not as easy as just kill the Bastion because there's more going on.
Yeah, it's a case of don't ever give them only one thing to focus on. Let's give them a couple of things to worry about. Here we go, Theta Omega starting things off with the tire, but Chaleo just laser beams that one down, and now they've no longer got that to play with, and as we hit the 3/4 cap mark, it is kills aplenty for Rektifiers. Shatter in over the top, knocks Napkin to the floor, and there's a bit of focus coming his way, but it's too little too late here. It's 90%. Disney's alone at the back of the point, and Napkin takes him down from range.
Yeah, as much as this composition was working on point A, you know, my worries about the Pharah inside are still coming true, and this Bastion, they might just be running it all series long.
Not into... Oh, interrupted by a freeze! You almost never see that coming up. Immortality Field given over to Napkin. They realize who the president is here. They realize who they've got to put on the car to keep him out of the line of fire of would-be terrorists. And Napkin, given all the resources in the world, bastions his way to victory.
Beautifully played, of course. We know we always say it, Bastion, it can work, but it's relatively easy to counter if you've got proper team coordination. And there seemed to be something off about that part of the team coordination for GoGoats this stage. The way they try to do it is they try to send especially Disney and Theory Tropic after that Bastion. It's an okay strat. Pharah is relatively annoying to hit. She can hide behind corners, shoot projectiles without being in view. It's definitely not a problem, but the issue is that while they were doing that, they expend 2 heroes to focus the Bastion, while the rest of the team is in a numbers disadvantage on the rest of the map. So they were always losing that frontline battle, and in that situation, your DPS just cannot keep up and do more value than what they're getting out of Napkin just existing.
And this is kind of the problem that we were discussing prior to starting today's broadcast and prior to going into the map, is that a 4.1k player in a 3k average lobby is gonna stick out like an
Big
incredibly
difference, yeah.
talented sore thumb. And unless you can find a way to shut him down, it's never going to be enough, because they can just out mechanic and out game sense you in most situations. And I think the rest of Rektifiers are sufficiently good that they can play around Napkin without draining too many of their resources and just continuously have the upper hand.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel like Rectifiers really has to hard enable Napkin. That's like all they rely on, because their front line is doing a pretty decent job, if not more so. Their back line's keeping everybody alive. The other TPS is doing a lot in the form of Draco Kane. And that is kind of the scary part, because we were thinking, oh, they're just gonna play one of these very high mechanics, high game sense heroes and just run over everybody. Your standard Genji Tracer, Widowmaker, one-trick players that just like run over everybody in a lobby as a Smurf. But that's not even happening. They switched to McCree at some point, but they got most of their value out of playing Reaper, playing Bastion, and kind of being more of a distraction rather than actually being the value pick that gets all the kills themselves. So when that goes on in further maps, we'll see if that continues. It seems the next map they want to go for is Havana, and this is where I'm expecting that long-range hits kind of come in.
But I also think that given how comfortable Napkin was looking on the Bastion, there's also value here in maybe even just running the pirate ship strategy. We've already seen resources being sent Napkin's way in terms of healing ults and immortality fields. There's no reason to suggest they wouldn't think about making that adaptation at least on the attack run. I think one of the things that was good to see from GoGoats was, as you mentioned, we did see Napkin move over onto the McCree, was sufficiently pressured out there to go off of the Reaper and onto the McCree. And GoGoats have now got to look for other ways to make that happen. Like if they can't find, I don't know, the lift up with the Maywall, making him a valuable target, or a hook off with a Roadhog to make him again a vulnerable target, it's going to be a really hard ask here.
True, and I do think that, especially in Control Center there was a lot of off-angle Bastion going on, not so much as a straight-up fight against the other team. That isn't as easy to do when you put him on a payload, so that might change the dynamic as well. There's a lot of question marks here still, but there's a very high probability that we're going to see some long-range hits kind of coming out here. That's not the Bastion, both on attack, on defense. It's Havana, I wouldn't say it's Widowmaker's playground. It maybe goes a bit too far, but there's definitely spots on the map where it's almost impossible to get through unless you counter the snipers if they're on there, especially point C with that fort, long range approach, not much cover. Yeah, it's a pretty obvious choice to go for that. And we right now see Napkin indeed pick that out of spawn on the defense, go for the Widowmaker straight away. And this is where we can see whether that 4.1 KSR is indeed achieved by playing Widowmaker a lot.
Worth noting, we have also had a substitution in for Rektifiers. Chalel going out and Enilk in instead in that support role, currently picking up the Ana here. So I guess maybe coming in as more of an Ana specialist over Cello, who I think mostly saw play the Moira with a little bit of a Baptiste in there as well. Might just be a case of giving everybody time to play today.
Definitely. Just we've seen it so much from all the other teams. As soon as they've got substitutes, they will actually play them because they like that feel of everyone gets their chance, right? Etc. It might also be a hero thing. Maybe they like Enoch's Ana a lot better than they like. They had Chalel earlier on. They also boast an Ana on their team sheet, but they might feel like more of a Mercy Moira player. It's all up in the air, But it's more likely it's just giving everyone a chance.
We'll see the dive coming through here from GoGoats, but it's the Zoo variant on the dive, sending Winston Wrecking Ball in. And Disney tries to come in on the Genji, but gets taken out. But we have already got the kill onto Napkin, which is exactly what GoGoats needed to secure a bit of an easier push here. Neil takes a bit of a beating there, but again, into the back line, finds the Power Driver onto 2. Forces the biotic grenade out of the Ana, and Vita Omega's able to find Polar Droid here. And now, without the pressure that Napkin is able to provide, it's a lot easier for GoGoats just to roll this one on through, Classy.
Yeah, not just that, but you're also running into a Junkrat, and in this open of a map, it's so hard to find value from all those projectile nades that are so good at spam, but not so good at accuracy, which is kind of what you need in these type of spaces, this part of the map. I like this aggressive push as well, might be able to just get that first point without much trouble, and Neil already putting so much pressure onto Napkin. This is exactly the strat that you were already alluding to. That ball can be on him. That's what you need.
Right, guys, able to find Disney. It's a big old stick, and Napkin's down. It's a 2-for-1 trade here so far, and Theta Omega still causing trouble. Forced to rewind here. A lot of damage coming in, already a quarter of the way back up to that ultimate, but with a little help there from the Bio Grenade and the Tickle Cannon of the Winston here, Theta Omega on the Tracer taken down, and Rektifiers at a momentary advantage. There's the Coalescence out from Coronary. Napkin now on the Tracer of their own gets in and keeps Coronary in the fight. Disney slept out of the ultimate. Woken back up again, a couple more slices available. Now on supports in the back, they peel for each other nicely, but Disney's able to do too much burst damage there and take him out of the fight already. Ine finds Napkin again, Polar Droid down. We'll get a little bit of a blow from beyond the grave on that one with the orb, but Smat is able to find Theta Omega. So this is not out of the woods just yet. Smat is going to go down, and we see a lot of pressure being applied to Brick Guy. Has the ultimate ready to go, but it is for now just him and the May alone on the point. Napkin's in! The charge comes in over the top of the Shadow, but the Immortality Field does the work of keeping Go-Goats alive, and they are still fighting through this class.
Oh, these DPS are so good on the backline, though. Those supports and DPS are almost never alive. So far, great jobs for Theta Omega and Disney, but unfortunately, Napkin comes on the Tracer, does so much work. The ball, though, comes back in. Neil actually doing a lot of work here with that minefield, and the grappling hook itself might go down here late, but that's a good start. If they can come back quickly, they might actually have numbers advantage. The ults, though, definitely in favor of the defense right now.
That was, I think, a bit of a clinic coming through from Napkin. I think 4 kills at the end of that fight, and the tracking on that's kind of scary.
It really is. I will say, though, I think Disney and Theta Omega so far have been doing a great job on that dive DPS. If they can continue this trend, I still see them capping this first point. They need to be careful, though.
Now down below the minute mark. Pulse bombs out, Coalescence 2 so far. No kills in the back of those. Polaroid makes a liar of me as Theta Omega's focused down there by the Coalescence. And now with the numbers advantage and the payload not having much road left to roll over, we may actually see this be where the final fight breaks out. One more defense here for Rektifiers.
Disney with that Blade and Coronary with that Coalescence. Those are going to be the big ones. Amplification Matrix can maybe help out that Theta Omega and Neil a little bit, but it's mostly heal boost. That Blade just needs to find the value in honesty.
Well, he's got to pull it out now. There's 7 seconds left on the clock. The wall is already down from Draco Kane into the top. Now swinging away with the sword, finds one support, looking for a second. The Shatter to help out. There's the second kill with the Blade Coronary. One with the Coalescence themselves. Tanks remain on the point here for Rektifiers, but a lot of damage being wanged their way. Draco Kane with the Blizzard locks up Neil. No one's focusing him down just yet. In fact, survives almost entirely unscathed here. And now it's down to Polar Droid and Draco Kane to keep this going that little bit longer. We'll see Napkin tag back into the fight. Finds his opposite number. Theta Omega down. Napkin does have the pulse bomb, throws it in, does enough damage to allow the cut to come through and take Neil out of the fight. We've got Bry Guy back at the point and swinging away. The numbers starting to mount here for Rektifiers. They come back onto the point. It's 2v4. Napkin's still here. Bry Guy's able to swing away even through the minefield. I don't see this payload going any further.
That's all we talk about, just being unfair. I mean, they were so close to cleaning that up, but Draco Kane and Polar Droid just managed to stall out that little bit longer that they needed for Napkin to come back in, for the ultimates, for the rest of the team to come back in. It was just a little too much to deal with, and the focus fire couldn't quite get that payload into the checkpoint. It's unfortunate because I really think Go-Goats was doing a pretty good job overall. Oh, yeah. They essentially won 2.5 fights, but they just couldn't get through to that last one. They couldn't quite clean up the targets when they really needed to, and that's all due to maybe losing one extra member when you don't want to, maybe getting that one extra ultimate with a little bit less value. And there isn't that much of a difference between these teams. It's sometimes just Napkin going off on a tear, or Polaroid and Draco Kane staying alive too long. It's really really close, and I definitely could see a similar result happening on the other side. Napkin will be on the Widowmaker to start off with, most likely. It's easier to play it on attack because you can just walk back into spawn, not get as much pressure on you. But I can definitely see Disney and Theta Omega just get a lot of value against it if they can keep hiding around corners.
I would almost want to see Go-Goats lean into the avoided style of play, the Yezen ball combo of just having the Farah and the ball provide so much pressure onto a long range hit scan that they can't get anything done. Although admittedly that is a difficult thing to pull off.
Yeah, definitely is. We'll see what they run out with. It's going to indeed be just the same thing. Napkin starting out on the Widowmaker, as opposed to the Tracer or the McCree that we've seen them play before, and even the Reaper. Disney on that McCree is going to be very interesting to me, though, because I think they were maybe expecting the Tracer to come out and they preemptively countered it, but now they're going to be at a range disadvantage as a result.
At the very least, the recent buffs and nerfs to respective hit scans have made that matchup just a little bit more favorable here, but whilst we are concerned with Napkin and whether or not they can hit their shots, it's actually going to be Draco Kane that really opens up this fight in a big way. 2 quick mines to the face of his opponent, and they put themselves in a 6v4 here for Rektifiers as the payload rounds of the first and technically final corner here. Neil had to pop the adaptive shields to get out of that. We'll see Guy fall here, but so far, Neil's not been able to get himself healed, and that's going to be them down. Napkin's taken out by Theta Omega, so we may see the hold coming through here. But Draco Kane is just lobbing in these shots and finding them from an unfathomable range for a Junkrat.
Yeah, Draco Kane, of course, also a very serviceable player, boasting that mid-diamond SR, so not at all having to take a back seat on this one. He just keeps on piling on the grenades.
It's just so much damage. You've got to move out of the way of it because it's so bursty, it's so consistent, it's so difficult to deal with. And the only thing you can do in the face of such adversity is move out of the way as quickly as you possibly can. Doug's gonna go down here. Smanid receiving a little bit of pressure. Spots someone up in this little room here, props the Primal Blade, looking to find at least one with that one, and just makes it so that Disney can't have any part in this fight here. The payload now with only 6 meters, 5 meters left to go. Shatter in, but too little too late. No tag onto the carton. Rektifiers moving on to a very quick match point.
Yeah, it really doesn't look like there's much that Go-Goats can do. Like I said, it does seem like there's a lot of promise there. It does seem like they're getting closer and closer to taking something, but it just cannot quite focus those last targets down, cannot quite find the right openings every now and then. It's a shame, but it could all still turn around. It's only been map 2. Could go to, we could have a quick 3-mapper. We had one last week. We could also just be going to map 5 here afterwards. It's all still possible in this match between the two teams, Phil.
But I think a lot of how this match went is indicated by some of the cards that have come up. Napkin receiving, dishing out 24% of his team's damage is quite a performance. So again, it will come down to, if we do get more than 3 maps here, it's got to be about shutting Napkin down. Like you as a caster, you don't want to go, oh, it's this guy, it's always this guy, it's never anybody else. But Napkin is loud and proud in this lobby. Like there's no avoiding talking about it, that he is kind of dictating how this goes.
Well, especially if you consider that there was Junkrat on their team for most of this match, as well as thinking that they were on Widowmaker a lot, who doesn't put out a ton of damage. So a lot of that 24% comes down to that half a map where they play Tracer, which is not a long time, and doing 24% damage of that in your team when there's a Junkrat on your side, you have like 4 other team members. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. But gotta say, I mean, it's not just Napkin. Like, there's definitely other parts that are being shut down, like Polo Droid and Enilk. Wow, as well as the tank line at times. That it could be that Go-Goats finds another way to do this without having to always shut down Napkin. The only problem is they're trying to focus on different parts of the team at times. They started out really well on that dive on their attack, went on the back line, got Napkin and the supports out a lot of the time, and then all of a sudden, it started breaking down a little bit, where their front line, their back line, and their DPS, they were all slightly disconnected, not timing their engagement as well. They overextended, and then they underextended, and that is where the dive really breaks down, because it's a great strategy. There's a reason why top teams run it so often. because if you can rely on the coordination, it's almost unstoppable. And they had it down until they lost the focus of it. And if GoGoats can keep that focus, might see a different result. Although I don't think that's going to happen on King's Row.
No, not likely. Just one last point of color, if I can tread on your toes ever so slightly.
Always.
Thank you. I feel like part of the reason we saw such difficulty for the dive coming through was the fact that Rectifiers were running this kind of double main tank brawl style. It's not a style that we see an awful lot anywhere, but it just means that there's nothing you can do really to deal with damage from a Reinhardt and from Winston, and from the two together. Like, they want to run into you, they want to brawl with you, and if you let them do that, they just get all of the ult charge and all of the damage in the world, and all of your like finely placed burst damage from a Junkrat is just not going to be quick enough or widespread enough to really take that down. It's going to be really, really hard to deal with some of these brawl comps.
Yeah, and I mean, and we're talking about Nightmare Fuel tonight, Phil. I mean, I heard you say something earlier that was really scary to me. The Primal Blade. I mean, what would that even look like? That would be scary, right?
Yeah, it would. I think technically you only really call it a Primal Blade if it gets a couple of kills. So I was preempting it on that one. But yeah, the Primal Blade, just imagine for a second, Winston gets not only incredibly angry, but like reaches down to a sword belt you didn't know he had and brings out 2 katanas and just beats you to a pulp with them. They're not even sharp. They're not even sharp. He's just like beating you with sticks.
Well, I would imagine that's like the 2 jetpacks he had, right? Like he takes them off and then he's like, you know, that's what I would see. It's like I definitely was starting to get some nightmare images in my head, like Primal Blade. That would break the game, wouldn't it? But then I was thinking, oh, I'm a tank player. I might not mind this. Let's go. So yeah, I mean, if you want more nightmares than just what's on Phil's cam in the breaks, you know, maybe start drawing up some ideas. I don't know. Right now, though, we're going into King's Row. It's going to be actually the Rectifiers starting on attack this time around. So we will see GoGoats starting on the defense. And they have that Pharmacy comp back. The one that was doing actually very well on Lijiang Tower. They're still running that ball Reinhardt composition, and that's Omega back on the Mei. I think this is definitely a combination that can work for them. It's just how long does the front line need to hold out for the DPS and ball to find value.
Ooh, we got a big nade coming in over the top. Looks like that landed a little bit wide. Shame, it was nice and cinematic there. Coronary. So let's have a look. GoGoats running. It's a strange comp, but I guess this might be down to comfort picks. It's the Brawl coming through again for Rectifiers. This time the Rhine Zarya, the old classic here for King's Row. Napkin going to be picking up the Ash this time, and a lot of safety here for Brigai to get in and just start swinging and causing trouble. Smanid with a high energy already. No barriers just yet, but Disney's been taken out of the sky by Napkin, and Smanid permanently at high energy. Such a threat here, even into the face of so much brawl, so much HP, so much CC coming their way. Smanid's just able to turn up the microwave and melt GoGoats. Nice tracking out of this guy as well. Almost gets Theory Tropic, but as much as a good fight as this has been from GoGoats, it's going to be the Rectifiers with an early camp.
Yeah, so far the Rectifiers not letting up. We've seen them do fairly well in the last 2 maps, and they're not looking to slow down anytime soon. Napkin showing up another hero. I think this is the 5th different one they're playing tonight. Now the Ash has got the Bob ready. There's a recontest coming in, Phil.
Yeah, it's not a terrible one as well. Minefield in already. Bob's going to be committed. That would at the very least help clear the minefield from the point as Disney finds a pick. There's a Graviton Surge, but with that Blizzard in over the top and a sprinkling of rocket out of Disney, we are actually going to see GoGoats do enough to swing back in and mount a hold.
Yeah, big things in that fight as well. You see Napkin not quite as connected with their team as you might have thought previously because they missed the sound barrier. Had they gotten that, they would not have died to Disney, and it might be a very different fight. But now we're looking at a situation where Draco and Big Guy have their ultimates. There's nothing on the other side to speak of. Maybe Theory Tropic can do some healing with that Valkyrie in time, but it's just so tough to do, and that's a beautiful Blizzard in the back line.
Thank you, Blizzard. I know you're a May fan. That's got to make you happy here. Dug down, Brigai, holding on to the shatter for now. War's going to stop some of the recontest, and it's a shooting gallery here for Napkin in the back, chases Neil off the point. We'll get a little more of a contest here. This has been, if nothing else, a really good time by here for GoGoats, but Rektifiers looking inevitable.
I mean, the big thing about it as well is you make them expend ultimates to cap that first point. Now you'll have some back. Minefield is very good in these closer corridors. Not that much room to run away from them. You'll have a nano boost, maybe another blizzard, a Valkyrie. Like, you definitely have the resources building up. No, there's nothing on the other side. I mean, you know, it's Graviton Shatter, two of the biggest CC and biggest, you know, follow-up kill ultimates that there are in the game. But it's something, you know? You definitely have a lot of tools to maybe stop them from following up.
Smanad with some interesting bubble use there. Oh, I see there is a pharmacy in the back line that Smanad was dealing with some of the flak from. Disney brought back into the fight. Someone's going to have to turn and deal with them here. Nano boost onto Justo to keep him alive through the Graviton Surge. Shatter, it's big. Blizzard, it's bigger. But Brig Guy has been able to get 2 in the course of that fight, securing, if not an advantage, at least parity here. And somehow Chalel gets into the middle of GoGoats, reses Brig Guy back in, and we're going to see them just keep on pushing it through, Classy.
Both teams just keep on countering each other's plays. You see the Shatter come out, then the Blizzard comes out, then they're just charging to the Mei after the Blizzard, then they're trying to get some more value, but then the rest comes out of Chalel, and eventually it is definitely the Rektifiers that come out on top, but GoGoats, you know, that was a roller coaster ride.
Oh, this was an unfortunate set of walls. Theta Omega trapped between a rock and a cold place. Taken out, we'll see Theory Cryptic tag up onto the high ground to support Disney. Sound barriers out early. Disney is doing everything in their power to focus Napkin, but Napkin is not having any of it here. Draco Kane trying to get a freeze here to round out the team fight. Finds the primary, looking to get the freeze onto Theory Tropic. Theory Tropic ducking and diving in, around, behind the boxes, but the space has been gained, and that's point B capped with 3 minutes, 23 seconds on the clock.
I'm gonna call an audible here and say that Neil is being too disconnected from the rest of their team. I've barely seen the Wrecking Ball, and every time I see them, they're doing something that's completely not being followed up or reacted to by the rest of their squad. You see them switching over to the Zarya now, wants to keep their Reinhardt safer, put a little bit more pressure on that front line rather than trying to get on the back line, because Napkin has been safe from that ball all game.
And there was a moment there where I felt certain that Spanid was just gonna grab the Pharah into the point, but it's not happening. Instead, he saved it here to find at least one pick. Theta Omega down, Neil down as well. The rest comes and brings Bright Guy back in, and Smanid has a lot of charge here. His tracking is on point. He's tracking him down. He's burning him down. Theta Omega burnt down, burnt to a crisp. Another big wall here from Draco Kane stops Doug retreating, and the payload is moving in uncontested to the end of point C. And this is a big time bank here for Rektifiers. We'll see the tank back in, though. Neil is here and can start this spin cycle. And with Disney taking Napkin out of the fight, if they can guard this body and stop the kill coming, will stop the rest coming back through into the fight, then this could be where they hold. 2 for 2, 3 for 2. Theory Tropic able to find Chalel with the melee, but it's still not enough here. With the respawns heavily favoring GoGoats, though, all they've got to do is just burn off time, secure this team fight win. Ooh, that was a interesting barrage on that one. It's going to be enough for them to hold, but I think maybe you'd like that one back.
It's worth. I think Disney might be swapping off as well, because they don't have the Mercy anymore to work with, and they haven't really been able to get on top of Napkin after point 1. So they're indeed going to go for that Doomfist. That's a spicy pick if I've ever seen one. And in this area, where there's a lot of walls and crevices, Doomfist can get a lot of value. Can even jump down from high grounds here and there, which is exactly where they're going to be setting up, together with Neil.
Do wonder how effective this is going to be, because she's got to close a lot of distance to get towards Napkin, who's used the Bob early here. Disney's in the back, can't quite make that final tag onto the Mercy and gets punished by Draco Kane. Graviton Surge was eaten there by Dirks. Man is not going to have that one for now. Self-destruct thrown in, but no kills on the back of that one either. And it's starting to look a little bit red on the left-hand side of that kill feed as Napkin comes up with a double. Smanid, not at high charge, but at high tracking capacity here. Works down Disney, and that's going to be it. A good time by here for GoGoats, but eventually Rektifiers push it through with a minute on the clock.
You know, it's still a minute and a half bought, other than like where they were in the first place. So I'm calling that almost a win. But the way they can really convert it into a win is have a good attack of their own. And so far, they have been able to put actually fair pressure onto the rectifiers in a lot of situations, as long as they're not on defense. Their attack has often looked a lot better because of that freedom that it creates for yourself. For the attack, you can choose your engagements, choose when you go onto the back line. You don't have to be as worried as for flankers as you do on the defense. So I'm not calling that it's going to be a map win here, but I'm thinking that GoGoats is definitely going to give the Rectifiers around their money more on attack than it on defense, and that could open up a lot of possibilities here.
Absolutely, and I know we shouldn't talk about the defense before it's actually out of the gates, but I wouldn't hate to see Disney looking to actually challenge Napkin here. Like, maybe you're not 100% confident that you've got the mechanical skill to win this fight most of the time, but just taking up attention, forcing Napkin to deal with you rather than getting picks onto supports could be a good way to win this out.
It very much could be, and I definitely expect Disney to at least take that first shot out of spawn. It's a common thing to do. Doesn't have to stay on afterwards. And with Theory, Tropic to be on the Mercy, I could see them go back to Afara. It's just that early shot that you can take if you want to. Luckily, or unluckily maybe, they don't see anybody. They're like, you know what, I'm just going to start on Farah. The first shot's never going to be coming off anyways.
Nah, well, yeah, everyone knows to expect it. Everyone knows to play in a way where you're not going to be in the direct line of fire. So let's see what Disney can get done here. Takes a dink in, keeps on... I'm not going to say what comes naturally to mind on the back of that one, but you know where I'm going with it. And I think at this point for Disney, you just want to get in that spam damage, wake up the barrage, and somehow find a way to stick that in and find a couple of picks. The Omega takes a bit of a win on the way through as well, but we've seen how scary this guy can be on the Junkrat. Has now a line onto the supports. We'll get the trap, stopping the rotation coming through to get him. A lot of damage put out there onto Draco Kane, but will eventually make his way out of that one. Might seem... I thought we were going to see the res come through just into the total mayhem mines, but no, looks like we've got a hold here for Rectifiers. No players lost.
Yeah, they're going to be fine for now, and Brig Guy actually charging up a lot of ult charge for that one, together with Poladroid and Shalel. But it's still, of course, Napkin that's leading the charge with that Ashe. A lot of dynamite, a lot of shots. Do take a lot of damage on the Esmanet there, and as soon as they get that Zarya down, it's actually a lot of damage missing, because Esmanet's tracking and just general damage has been so high this game.
Disney's about to close in on the barrage. Theta Omega 2. We'll see them lose Theory Cryptic early and off on the point. Big shatter through from Bright Guy. Bob, for good measure, deals with Just Doug and Theta Omega. And that's now 90 seconds burnt off the clock here for GoGoats.
Yeah, not a great start to this, but as usual, now we're getting into the old phase of the game for them. Just 4 ultimates invested from Rectifiers. That might have been the overinvestment they can't work against. But then there's a Graviton and a Blizzard, and that combo can just wipe a team. The only problem is, not really ult charging ultimates, so might be a good fight afterwards, we'll see.
There's the Blizzard. Looks like we're going to get one freeze out of that one, but not too much more. Theta Omega down. Honestly, if you're GoGoats here, losing one player for an ultimate is great when the respawn so heavily favors you.
Yeah, it definitely is. And like, again, you still have so many left, and there's nothing on their side really charging up quickly. Graviton comes out. Where's the follow-up? It's not quite there. The Antonit's huge.
Oh, we get another
Reinhardt there.
Barrage finds one, but then a lot of shooting. But the Riptide, they were so focused on the barrage, they didn't catch the sneaky Junkrat ult round the back. And this was a heck of a set of plays from GoGoats. Expensive, but they will at least get their crack up on B.
And everyone at home, and even teams, if you're watching this later on, that is how you do it. You read the ultimate situation, you know you have way more than they do, and then just invest. It's fine. You need to win that point eventually anyways. You still have a decent time back of 330, and you've even got a Shatter left. It's fine. Use both of those high-impact ultimates, get the win, and just roll over Rectifiers, because now your momentum can keep building.
It's going to be down to who can find the bigger of these shatters coming up. Bright Guy and Just Doug both have these online, so it's time for Ride Mind Games game. Who's gonna blink first? Well, it's gonna be Bright Guy with the early blink on that one. Theta Omega down, but traded as Napkin gonna go down as part of that. Shatter again out from Just Doug, doesn't find too much here, and GoGoats are just able to keep on moving this forward. Disney finds Draco. There's a couple of picks coming in on the back of the Graviton Surge. Draco and Polar Droid between them break the back of the offense of Go Goats, and Rektifiers start to push back here. They're going to lose their main tank, but they've got the numbers here to keep themselves in the fight.
Yeah, the reset's gonna come out here for Go Goats. It's a wise decision. You have a little bit of a quicker respawn coming out, so you can engage on that numbers advantage. But you saw what happened there, right? You saw every one of the Rektifiers being bunched up, and then you look behind Just Doug. Everyone's in around the corner. That follow-up on that graph just wasn't there, unfortunately.
Well, on into the next bit of the fight. Neil with a bit of charge, but not a lot of HP. It's a bit of a mercy wind at the back there to keep him alive through that one. There's the projected out, and now's your time to strike once you've seen that projected and personal both down. Shadow comes out, Bob on the card already, and Rektifiers look like they've lost a couple of key members here. Just Doug currently playing Mr. Rectangle Man, keeping his team alive through the onslaught of the Bobs. Man is brought back into the fight as well. Numbers advantage currently for Rektifiers, but a lot of pressure being put down. A long-range barrage from Disney. He's able to find one. Smaned down as well. And it's a Hail Mary of a tactical visor from Draco King. Able to find Coronary, and now gets in around behind the shield and finds a bit of damage, and then finds the hammer drop. Taken out, squished against the wall. The mercy of Chalel down, and we're going to see them have a crack at point C.
That almost went wrong when Coronary dies to that tech visor. It's so much healing and so much utility. And Coronary honestly has been running in front of that shield a little bit too much. Has been playing fairly aggressive on that Ana. Switches back to it now. I think it's definitely a great hero for them to play. They just put themselves into awkward positions because of where their tanks are positioning. The disconnect to where Neil was in that fight before and where Coronary kind of had to go to be able to heal them around that payload, that's putting them in really, really tough spots.
But this is already a really good push here from Go Goats. Theta Omega with the Riptide could be what makes the difference yet again. Oh, fire struck out of the air. Great presence of mind there from Bryguy. So it's down to Theta Omega to try and make this happen just with primary fire. But he's going to deal with the consistent damage that comes out from Neil here. Down to a wing and a prayer HP-wise. Disney trades that one out as Draco Kane is taken out of the fight again. Big anti here onto Bryguy. Has to throw in the shatter just to keep his team in the fight. Napkin now back on the McCree finds Disney. And we are looking to see a hold here for Rektifiers. But this next fight for Go Goats does put them... Oh no, last minute nano boost there just to try and get Doug out of the fight. I don't know that I like that, Classy.
No, I definitely don't think I do either. I mean, so far, actually, the anti-nades from Coronary have been really on point. It's just unfortunate that the positioning from Just Doug and Neo is not always as connected as it maybe could be. What tracking from Draco there? Almost just beams Disney out of the sky. Not quite does it. There's a Graviton.
Oh, Napkin goes for the high noon, finds nothing. Looks like he might have done just enough there to soften up the team there as they came in on the approach, but that will be the hold here. And now a better time bank is impossible here for Go Goats.
They do have the option of just completing the map and they'll get another attack. Like that's because they finished under a minute on the Rektifier side. But you would rather not be as far away. You don't want to have a minute difference. You'd rather have like 30 seconds maybe. But that's just not possible anymore. This looks like an overtime finish, if that. But they have to be worried about Draco. He's on the flank visor right now, up there, and that's going to be a great position.
They lack the critical information. There's one pick. Oh, Disney's got the better one over by the point, but Draco Kane is able to find two, able to find three here. It's a 3-for-3 DPS trade. It's got to favor the defense here, and we're now down below the 30-second mark. Disney's back up and ready to go. He's ready to spam. There's one last defense available here for Rektifiers. Draco Kane's going to make the swap over onto the Tourbillon for this last fight. Not your typical...
Hammer time. That's what they're going for. Maybe he gets the hammer kill, actually, but that's a good tire, good opener. Just deny the rest. That's all they need to do.
There's the high noon, very quickly charged up from Napkin. Won't find too much, but is just interested in trying to get Disney out of the fight. Shatter out from Bryguy, puts two on the ground, but there's no follow-up damage, so they're still in the fight for now. Theta Omega's going to go down here. Disney just dug down, and now even with Smaned trapped in a trap at the back end of the fight, they're just aren't enough Go Goats left on the point to stop the onslaught here from Rektifiers. It's all just down to trying desperately to Scrabble at the point, and it's Scrabble no more for GoGoats. Rektifiers with a quick 3-0 in the series.
3-0, done and dusted, and Rektifiers looking very posed to go further on in this tournament and maybe even take the cake in the end. For now, though, they're 2-0 in this second stage, and it means that GoGoats is on a 1-on-1 now. But we see some beautiful plays coming out from a lot of the players. I think everyone had a good moment, their good moments. Some beautiful shatters, good gravitons, anti-nades, general res positions. And I think in the end, when we look at that, I think that was a big part. Not even Napkin hitting shots, but Shalel getting every res off in their dreams. It was right in front of them at that stage. GoGoats could have denied it, but there was so much working against it. There was a high noon going off in a bubble, and everything is always putting Shalel in a position to re-res that Reinhardt, regain the focus of GoGoats on that front line, so that their DPS actually have the space to work with. It's a nice combination of things, and when you look at it from like a deeper meta perspective, Rektifiers have got their things together.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the hangovers from the 5-man res era of Mercy is that you have to kill the Mercy. Like every time she's on screen, kill the Mercy. Solo grab her, solo shadow, just get it out of the fight. And the same is true to a lesser extent. You don't want to have your hard work undone by an ability that is actually really, really easily punished. You can't let them get away with it.
No, the last one especially was really jarring. That Reinhardt should not have gotten back up. Bry Guy been doing a great job all series, don't get me wrong, but the amount of times they have been getting rezzed, especially like in the middle or in the back line of GoGoats, is just unacceptable. So when you go over the VOD again, GoGoats, maybe hear me say it now when you're watching it, maybe look at that. Sometimes get the mercy. That's all. Maybe even like 2 out of 5 times would already have been enough to maybe win even a map and maybe even a series more often than not.
That's right. Small incremental changes in playstyle is eventually what will win you out. But we are approaching, not quite at, but very near the end of the broadcast. There's only one thing left for us to do, which for us to talk to representatives from both the Rektifiers and GoGoats. And whilst we're waiting to get them into the chat and ready to be interviewed and briefed on the use of appropriate language for stream, we're back with you. In the meantime, though, we are going to throw to a quick break, but please don't go too far because we'll be back in just a little while. Welcome back, everybody. Sorry for the slightly extended delay on that one. We're now back and ready for the interview portion of the show. And joining us today are Doug from UNICEF and Smanid from Rectifiers. Sorry, I read out that completely wrong, like a big idiot. Doug from Go Goats, whose charity is UNICEF, and Smanid from Rectifiers, whose charity is Math Count. So, first of all, Smanid, congratulations on the win there. How are you feeling on the back of that?
Thank you. Feeling pretty good. It's good to win. Hopefully, this will put us into a good position to get into the playoffs and make another run.
And Doug, obviously, commiserations through to you for not quite having been able to pull the bag out of that one, despite having taken Rectifiers the distance on several of those maps. Did you at least find that an enjoyable set to play?
Yeah, we knew this was going to be a tough game going into this week. I mean, I think they have 3 diamonds and a grandmaster, so it wasn't going to be an easy game. We tried our best. We definitely learned some things and have some things to work on for our future matches, but it's not over. You'll see us in the playoffs.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Cool. I mean, looking forward to that as well, indeed. Now, immediately another question for you, Doug. What do you think is like the one takeaway for you guys from this game? You're like, oh, that's the one we really want to fix or really want to work on.
I don't know what the one thing is. I know from my side, on the tank side, I definitely fed a couple times. Hopefully, you guys were nice to me on air with the Rhine, but their damage output was just, it was difficult for us to keep up with. I couldn't keep my shield up. It was gone instantly. So definitely need to figure out how to counter some of that high damage.
I guess I maybe have a relevant follow-on question to that one to address the hit scan elephant in the room. Smanid, how much of your team composition was built around buying space for Napkin to do Napkin things?
A lot of it. We don't necessarily plan to give him space. We let him do his thing and try to play around him. We just work together. Like when he's not playing hit scan, he usually plays Tracer or Genji, and then we just have to coordinate with our dive because any mistakes that we make, he usually covers up for. So
sure,
it's been nice.
And I guess the flip side of that one, back over to Doug. How much of your team comp was built around trying to stop Napkin doing Napkin things?
All of it. I think if you were able to listen to our comms, I think that is what all of our comms were, was how do we stop Napkin and the healers. Definitely putting out a lot of damage.
Sure. I mean, that's we started before the stream. We were both saying, okay, so that's the storyline, right? How much is Napkin getting space or not getting space or anything like that? It sort of turned out that way. But when I was looking at this game, I'm like, well, it's not just that Napkin is popping off. Like, there's a lot happening at the same time. In frontline tanks, for instance, Smanet, I think you had a blast on Zarya for most of that series. I think you were doing amazing on the tracking, etc. Like, I don't want to give all the credit to Napkin because I think you guys were all doing a great job. And on Google's side, I mean, you did actually put up a bit of a pressure there sometimes. So I definitely think that might have been initially built around it, but it evolved into something more. So that's both for you guys, something to take away. It's not just the Napkin show or the counter Napkin show all the time.
Definitely. Kudos to their Zarya too. I think we felt like they had unlimited bubbles just because their bubble management was so good.
Well, thank you. That was me.
That was Monet, yeah. Yeah, like I said, it was definitely something good going on there. So, I mean, looking forward, of course, you both are saying like, oh yeah, the playoffs, to make another run, etc. Was it really something you were coming into with the season, Doug?
Coming into expecting to go to playoffs?
No, I mean, just in general, like, was that something you were like working on? Like, okay, we're going to get to playoffs, do really well, etc. Like, was that the reason for the team doing this, or is there more behind it?
No, so for our team, none of us have actually met before. We kind of just found each other through some internal places at work. And I think we all kind of joined the internal sheet that we have a little late. So we just kind of like, hey, we can try this out. At least we'll get to play. I don't know how far we'll get, but I think so far we've done pretty well, despite not really having any sort of chemistry ahead of time, just in any context. I think we'll get there, and we're doing well for the season.
So just
Okay,
to very
Taryn, I
quickly,
guess. Sorry, I guess same question for you as well. By the way, just real quick, Smanet, like you said, oh, we're gonna go to playoffs to get another run. Is that really like your all goal, or is there more behind it?
So this team has made it to the top 8 in the last 2 seasons, and we're kind of the result of the Raytheon's fielded more teams in the past for Overwatch, and this is kind of all that's left. We've consolidated, so we feel like we're probably the best team that we've had so far or fielded so far. So we want to see how far we can go. We think we can hang with the big dogs in the top 5. So we're excited to see what happens.
we're definitely going to be watching that unfold over the next few weeks. I did have one last set of questions to throw your way before we let you go back and celebrate with your teams or commiserate with your teams as may be appropriate. And just starting with Doug, could you maybe tell us a little bit about your charity of choice and why you guys picked that?
Sure. We are playing for UNICEF, which I think everyone knows. They focus on disadvantaged children and adolescents around the world. I think they're, like many different organizations, their challenge is a little bit harder this year because of COVID. But they're leading on preventative actions, protecting health of children and their parents and caregivers, and making sure they get PPE out, and doing their best to keep everyone safe. So definitely a cause that we feel really good about supporting.
And Samantha, same question over to you guys. Tell us a little bit about Math Counts.
So Math Counts is a nonprofit organization that encourages STEM education, specifically math education, as you may not have guessed, primarily to middle school, which a lot of STEM outreach programs try to get people or try to get kids involved in high school, but if you can get that exposure earlier, it really helps broaden the exposure to STEM education. And as a company, Raytheon is primarily an engineering company, so we're all about STEM outreach and STEM education.
Well, great. Thank you both. Sounds like a really worthwhile pair of charities there. We'll be somehow rooting for both through this, which I don't know quite what that'll do when you come to head-to-head next time, but we'll see what happens when it happens. One final thing for you guys. Is there anybody that you'd like to shout out or give specific thanks to round out the broadcast? And let's start with Smattered on this one.
All right. Well, I want to give a shout out to Husker, who specifically requested it, but is also our former team captain and is beloved for most of the people on our team. We miss him on support. But I also want to shout out the rest of the team too for being amazing.
Is Husker now playing for somebody else? Because it's a name I recognize.
Yeah, so he is playing for Dinosaur Party.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, and Doug, for yourself as well, anybody you'd like to give a shout out to or say thanks to?
I just want to give out a shout out to my team, Neil, Theory Tropic, Disney, Theta Omega, and Coronary. It's been a fun ride. Definitely something we look forward to every week. And, I think we're doing really well despite not having any chemistry ahead of time. So shout out to the team.
Yeah. Can I make one more shout out? Actually, I just remembered something.
Go on, we'll allow
Sure.
it just this once.
I want to shout out to Google Dive too for being awesome Scrim partners.
We have already seen Google Dive playing a really, really fun team to follow. So good to hear that being good scrim partners as well. But Doug, Smanid, thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to let you go and retreat to the loving arms of your teams and get ready for planning for next week's games. But for myself and for ManofClass, that's very close on coming on the end of the broadcast. Classy, anything you'd like to say to round out the broadcast today?
I mean, I guess I'm just looking forward to the Google Dive versus, Rektifiers matchup at that stage when they're being such good scrim partners. It could be fun. Having all each other's tactics already worn out. But no, it's we're getting hotter and heavier, close towards the playoffs. It's getting more and more exciting as the weeks go on. And honestly, even though the games might not always be as long, they're just as exciting. It's every time just a blast.
It's always fun. I've never had a boring week here at CEA. The games are
always something.
Even when you've got low SR players playing, there's always something to be looking for. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, thank you very much for your time and attention today. Wonderful to have you with us. And don't despair because, of course, we'll be back next week with even more CEA Overwatch action. Join us then for more fun.